In this video, we're going to talk about the new membership capabilities of ASP.NET 2.0, as well as tools in the toolbox that encapsulate much of this new functionality. And you have full programmatic control through the membership class's rich API. However, this will show you what you need to know in order to get started. So it's just a set of classes in the .NET framework, as well as a set of controls only area of your website. So if you require registration or payment for a select few individuals, then you can accomplish this pretty quickly. First of all, the membership features of ASP.NET is a concept that differentiates between authenticating you to resources or take action on the website. So let me clarify this. Basically, when you go to and this combination of credentials proves that you are a whole other issue altogether. So now the website knows who you are. Now, what your identity is typically associated with one or more roles, and each of these roles, or perhaps those roles are used to restrict you from doing certain things on the website. The other is granularity of the roles, and you might have only one role for your entire website. Sources equally, but in a more complicated scenario, you might have two or more or what role you allow each of them to have. Types of information on individual web pages in the website. From a Visual Basic perspective. Now, for those of you who are watching in C#, please hear the functionality is exactly I'm about to build, except where I point them out. Now, near the end, Sharp video. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, I've created a and there's really nothing special about it at this point, but to set up membership, because we know we're going to need it for to employ that ASP.NET configuration tool. So go to website, ASP.NET configuration, and after a moment or two, the website administration tool pops open. Now, at this point, what we want to do is turn to the Security tab on our tool. And after a moment or two, you should see a screen. Enable internet-based authentication or Windows authentication. By selecting that, we're going to save all of our SQL Server 2005 Express Edition database that's managed by our website administration tool. Now, sometimes that selection that I just described a moment ago can be made on this page that you currently see, and here we need to select an authentication type. We're going to select from the internet and click the Done button. Okay, so once we see the page looking like this, where we have a user section and a role section, now we're ready to get started. First thing that I want to do is click the Enable Roles link on our Security tab. And now that I've enabled roles, I want to create a new role by selecting the Create or Manage Role link. In this text box, I'm going to type the new role. So I'm just going to type in here basic user. Now I could make this anything that I want to, any little token that would mean something to me or my website. In this case, I'm just going to stay very generic and just call them a basic user and click Add Role. Okay, so once I click the Add Role button, you can see the list of roles that are available from the list on the Security tab. You can see the role name, or I can add or remove users to that role, or I can delete this role altogether. All right, I'm going to click the Security tab or use the back button in order to view this screen again. You can see I have one role. I need to start creating some users. So to begin, I'm going to create then I'm going to add some controls to a web page in order to allow users to create them. So here I'm going to click Create User from the user box, and I'm going to start creating a new account. This one I'm just going to call admin. I'm going to give them a password. Now, be aware that you have to create a strong password to shut that off. But essentially, it has to consist of a certain number of alphanumeric characters. It has to contain at least one number. It has to also contain some non-alphanumeric characters as well. So you have to come up with something fairly original. Maybe you're not used to going to that length, but this describes a more safe password than just your typical, you know, password sort of thing. So here we go. We'll create an email address, or actually we'll change this first one to learnvisualstudio.net, and then we'll have a question: what is your cat's name? And I think that we can use that. Now I also get to select whether this user or not is in one or more roles. Since I'm setting him up from this administration tool, I'm going to go ahead and select basic user and then click the create user. You can see we get a message that we've created this user successfully. I'll click the continue button, and I can continue to create more accounts from here if I'd like. Now it would be pretty difficult if I was administering very and basically have to type this in for each individual person to access. Enter their own information in, and then we can decide whether or not they get to be basic users or whether they have no roles associated with their account. And we're going to do that in just a moment. So now we've got at least one user and we have at least one role. I think we can get started in actually developing our application. Now my goal is to write as much code as possible, and just to exercise the controls that are available with the plugin toolbox. However, please understand that behind the scenes what's going on is the manipulation of this membership. And you will your own versions of these controls that are more specialized to your specific needs. So if there's something here that that these controls encapsulate. So what I want to start pretty simple. What I'm going to do is add another page. I'm going to call it login and select the add button. And on this login page, I'm going to drag and drop a login control. Now as you can see here, the login control looks a lot like every login that you've probably ever used for a website. By converting this into a template and then changing the HTML for the individual elements, title, the username, password, labels, the remember me next time text box or on, or we can just select the auto format link, pop open the auto format dialog, and we can browse through the various formats that can be applied. And I'm going to select this professional format so that my login looks pretty neat. Okay, that's all we really need to do to the login control, except one more thing we'll need to do, and that is whenever a successful login has been accomplished, we want to set this destination page URL by selecting the little ellipse in the property box, and selecting a page on our website where the user will be sent to log. So after, in this particular case, since we're starting out simple, I'm just going to send them back to the default page and click the OK button. And we'll save that. Great. Goes down the login page, and here we're at the default page, and let's take a look at the other controls. One of the first controls that we can take a look at is the actual login view, which allows us to make a differentiation between those people versus those people who have been authenticated. So there are two different views in login view. So what I can do in this view section here is type in this view is for people who have not yet logged in. Okay? Now go to my little tasks window and select a different view, the logged in template, and I'm going to put in here, this view is for people who have logged in successfully. Great. Now let me do this. I'm going to make some space here. Whoops. Oops, that. Let's make some space. And we'll make sure that we label this login view just so we can tell where we're at. And I also want to use the login status control. So I'm going to drag that from my toolbox as well. And this will tell somebody whether they're currently logged in, or if they are logged in, it will allow them to log out. So it keeps track of that. And then I'm also going to put in the login name control, so you can kind of see all these working together. And this will tell you the current name of the person who's logged in, so they can see their username here in the label that's bound to the membership information for the current user. Okay, so give this a try. We haven't really written any code, just set some properties and things of that nature. I'm going to make sure to have my default.asp selected. Call after we try to run our application debug for the first time. Open and entering the web.config for debugging purposes. And so the website that we currently see, we're on the default.aspx page. Notice that our login status control gives us login. We don't see any login name, and our login view is currently displaying the template for anonymous users. This view is for people who have not yet logged in. So I'm going to click the login link, and it will take us to login page. Notice that it gives a return URL of lesson09/default.aspx. That's HTML coded. Let's go ahead and put in our admin and then our password that we created, and then click the login button. And now it shoots us to the default.aspx page. See, login control is set to log out. Why toggled to log out? Well, because we're currently logged in. That's in this case admin, and the login view is set to the template for logged in successfully. Great. Now, one common scenario that happens often is that whenever people go to log in, they realize that they don't remember the original login information that was assigned to their account. So what we can do here is actually add another page. We're going to go to, let's go to add new item and select here. We're going to put password recovery and click the add button. And then on this particular page, this new password recovery page, we're going to simply drag and drop from our login section of our toolbox a password recovery control. Now we have some options here. For example, obviously the formatting, I'm going to professional so that it looks like my login box. But then also we can change the question view and then the success view as well. Now I can just as easily put this control on our login page, but I decided rather to put it in its own on its own page. It's really your decision as a developer doing this. So what we could do here is just create a hyperlink that says something to the effect that we want to allow them to recover their password. So here in the text we might put forgot password. So let's go ahead and start this application using the login.asp page as our starting spot. Now I'm not going to fully exercise this because I have the email options for my particular machine. So basically what we can do though, or rather admin, it'll ask me for my cat's name. We'll just put in a fake name here, but see what happens. It'll tell us that the answer cannot be verified. Please try again. I'm going to put in Kitty, and whenever I hit submit, we're going to get an error, but it's because, again, I have set up my particular version of Windows XP to be able to access the internet and send email. So once you correctly configure ASP.NET and Windows XP to allow this functionality, then it will send an email from your account. Okay. Now the other thing that we might want to do, as we've identified earlier, is we don't want to have to enter each and every person's information every time that we sign up somebody new. We want to allow just general registration, and there's a great control that allows us to do that. So let's add another item here, and we're going to put signup.aspx, and let's look at our form. And what we're going to do here is drag and drop over the Create User Wizard. Okay, and as before, we can select various steps that we want to configure or change the look and the feel of. We can also add or remove wizard steps. If we want to collect additional information, we can do that by add or remove wizard steps. We can also change the various steps for those steps so that we can have a higher degree of fidelity when changing the look and the feel of those particular steps. But in this particular way that it is, well, let me do this just to make sure everything looks about the same. We'll select our professional look. We'll go to the default page, and I'm going to add a link. And we'll put this, oh, I don't know, let's say right here. And we'll just call this sign. And we will set the navigate URL to our sign up page. So let's go ahead and save that and run the application. I'm going to click the sign up button for my default page. And here I'm going to create a new user. So let's go ahead and do that. To borrow and we'll borrow this from Monty Python. And we'll click the create button. And its account has been successfully created. We'll click the button and nothing happens. That's because whenever we set our sign up control, we did not change one of the options here. Let's see where it's at. I think it's at the top here, which is finish creating a new account, or we can send them, probably would be more likely to send them to the login page, right? Or if they cancel, then we can send them to the default page. So we'll click that and save it. And now let's just run it real quick again. So we're on the sign up page probably at this point. And we can start a new user. And this time we'll go for Jim. Okay, I'm not really worried about some of this stuff. Okay, and so we continue this time. It brings us to the login page, and here we can put in Jim and then our password, and then log in, and we can see that we're logged in as Jim, and so on. Okay, so let's do real quick. So perform some due diligence here and take a look at these new users within our website administration tool. You can see here immediately we have 3 users, and if we match those users, we can see a list of them here. We can even filter them by the letter that they start with. We can also search by username and email, put in that value, and then click Find User. We can also delete users from here. And we can also edit roles for a given user. Now in this particular case, Tabaro is not a basic user, but the admin is. If we click in, you can see that there is a checkbox in the basic user box. So we're going to leave these as 2 separate types of users. And the reason we're going to do that is because we want to extend the functionality of our application, because many times what we're going to want to do is not just use this login view in order to control who sees what content, but we're also going to want to have some more control over who is able to actually visit a given web page on the website. So what we do is add a new item. We're going to call this secure page. Yeah. .aspx and click the add button. Okay, and the next thing I also need to do is create a new page called unauthorized. And this will be kind of an error page. This will explain why the user is not permitted to view the secure page that we just created a few moments ago. And on this unauthorized page, let's go ahead and type in some text. And we'll do something like, you are unauthorized to view the secure page due to your lack of permissions. Great. And let's put status control here on this page as well. And we'll come back to this in a little while. Okay. Okay, so I'm ready to write some code. The first thing I want to do is to make sure before anybody's allowed to view this page that they are something else while we're here. But my first order of business is to change this destination page URL property to secure page. And then the other thing that I want to do is also show you that we didn't, in fact, need to create this little link forgot password because the login control contains the ability to display something just like this using these the password recovery text and URL. You also can see here that there's a create user text and URL and a help page text and URL as well. So for this, what we want to do is change this to our password recovery. We'll change this text to forgot password. And then we'll just delete our link there. Okay, so very cool. Now let's set that down and run our application with secure page selected in the Solution Explorer. We'll log in. Now hold on, how did we get to the login page when we were navigating securepage.aspx, as you can see in the address bar? Well, the reason is because we hit that line of code in the form load that said if the person is not authenticated, then you need to server.transfer them over to the login page. So server.transfer will just literally, instead of rendering HTML from the securepage.aspx, it will load up the login.aspx page in this particular case, and it will take all the code from that page and render it out to the user. So you don't see a change in the URL, but from a server perspective, what is sent to the user is the login.aspx page. Now, if you just want to redirect them so that, in essence, the address changes well, you can do instead a response.redirect instead of a server.transfer. Just a little bit of a heads up there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in our password, click in the login button, and now we're at the secure page. Okay, it doesn't look like much, but we can tell that we're at the secure page this time because of the address. So let's go ahead and spice this up a little bit. Now, so I'm going to open up secure page and view the design. And might even do something like let's go ahead and put the login status here. And let's also, since you're here at the secure page, you should be able to now change your password. So we can drag and drop the change password control onto our secure page, and we can, just like all the other tools, change the formatting and also change the templates from the actual change password screen to the success, both of which are encoded within our control. Okay, so we're going to leave that as the way that it is. And I want to add one more wrinkle before we look back to authenticated to view this page, but we may want to restrict this to only those people within a given role. In our case, we created a role called basic user, and so we want to make sure that the user, the current person who's logged in, is a member of the basic user role. If they're not, we're going to transfer them over to the unauthorized.aspx page. So let's do that. If roles.is user in role, and we'll use the second version of this method, or just the first version, sorry, is user. Then we'll just take the shortcut for our if statement. We won't use the brackets, but we'll do this. Server.transfer unauthorized.aspx. Now, let's go ahead and save this, and let's go ahead and try and log in with both of our user accounts. We First time through, I'm going to go through and as the admin. So let's try that and click Login. And notice that we're at the secure page, and we can even change our password here. So let's shut it down. And this time I'm going to go straight to the login page. Put in the username Tabaro and the password. Log in. And notice I get to the unauthorized.aspx page. And again, a server transfer, so we don't in the address bar, but that's ultimately where we wound up. So you are unauthorized to view the secure page due to your lack of permissions. What lack of permissions? Basic user role. So I can also see here that I'm currently logged in. It's not an issue of being authenticated. Uh, I am authenticated. They know that I am the problem is that I'm not authorized with my current set up. So I okay. So hopefully you can see how few lines of code that we've written in order to accomplish some really powerful functionality. Now in the past, in the previous versions of ASP.NET, we had to write a lot of this code ourselves, so it's really nice to have this available to us if we just need to throw something together really quickly. However, many get to the point where you do not want to implement your membership functionality in your application in the exact way that is provided for you in the controls. Maybe you want to customize it a little bit. You want it to work a little bit differently, and you're going to need some finer fidelity control over how it works. If that's the case, then the good news is that you can use the rich programming model as we referred to at the very beginning of this video in order to accomplish that. So in addition to the user class and the roles class, which we've used so far, there's actually several other classes that we can utilize. So we're going to talk about that right now. So at the heart of ASP.NET 2.0's membership functionality is the membership class. And the methods of the membership class provide the functionality necessary to find only those users that meet certain criteria for website administration tool. Now the properties of the and it also keeps information about the current user that keep track of the number of users currently on the website and so you've seen this a little bit already is the role class, which we use a member of a given role. However, it's also great if you want to programmatically add users or remove or and even more. And then finally is the user class, which we use to there's also some additional classes, but as you begin to dive off the deep end and so I'm not going to go into them right now. Hopefully you realize that you have a lot of flexibility to don't do all the heavy lifting though. In those scenarios when the controls that we've been talking about really excited about this functionality, and I'm probably going to use it to rewrite major portions. So, for more in-depth discussions on this and other topics related to Visual Basics, ASP.NET, and more. Thank you.